Hi, I'm Megan Bushhausen, and you're watching Notes from the Dev Video Edition.
Hi, welcome to today's episode of Notes from the Dev. I'm Megan, and with me today is Emily Demerel from the email marketing agency Potion Labs. Recently, we saw this amazing email from him that was an interactive rock, paper, scissors email, and I just had to know how he built it. And he is kind enough to come on and show us. Thank you for joining us today, Emily. How are you?
Hey Megan, thanks for having me. It's cool. It's a very sunny Thursday today and also bank holiday, so I'm quite happy.
Oh, very nice. You're lucky.
Those are the
Awesome.
best.
Well, thank you for spending your bank holiday with us. I appreciate that. So how about you tell us a little bit of background about your email and how it came to be? Like, why did you make this?
Okay, so I am actually freelancing in email development in more than past 3 years, but most of my clients were in pharmaceutical or healthcare industry. And if anyone knows that those industries are quite like heavily regulated. So I said, okay, I have to figure out a way that I have to show my skills for this new agency stuff, like the potionlabs.io. And I came up with like a couple ideas, and one of them was being creating some sort of like email, like some sort of stunt that will give people those like wow effects. And so far, it kind of worked. Since me being in this podcast, I think it's working quite well. Uh, and the main reason behind this was that when you create stuff for like healthcare businesses or like pharmaceutical companies, you are in under very heavy NDA that you can't show any part of the email who is not intended to see it. So like if your target group is like doctors or some sort of like pharmaceutical reps or anyone, this email shouldn't be visible like in any parts in like anywhere else. So that's why I was not able to show my past work for this new agency, so it looked like as if I'm starting like just now. That's why I started like creating those emails, and the first one was I turned my website into an email, which you can still check on Potion Labs. And the second one was this, that I created this rock paper scissors games, and also it was very nice challenge for myself to take if I can actually manage to do it.
Awesome. I love that when you're just like, I just want to challenge and do something cool, and then it results in something like that. That's awesome. Super awesome. So why don't you show us your email for those who have not seen it yet and walk us through the code and how you did it.
So basically, this is the email that I am sending out for either my like leads. And as you can imagine, like the main reason was to create this for catching some attention while I can't show any of the interest. So basically, the email is like, except this gray part, it's very straightforward. It's just like a block of text and just some button at the end. But the block of text simply works like you're choosing your move and then you hit the play. Let's say the computer generates some move for you, and then at the end, based on the moves, you see that whether you won or you lost or something, and then you click play again, you choose another one, you can keep playing, because when you click it just generates. Maybe I can do it like that. Yeah, I can put it like this. So when you click, it just randomly generates some move. But since this is not like a exact randomizer, because that you can't build in CSS, it's sometimes like you get the same thing over and over again. And when we just go through the code, you will probably see why it happens. And of course, for each state, whether you won, you lose, or it's a draw, you see that like some unique message. So you understand that whether you won or not. The computer also shows that. Like you don't have to think of about it yourself. So this is how it looks like. If you don't have any other questions or anything regarding this, I can like jump into code for this,
Yeah.
and we
Look
can
at the code
see.
and nerd out.
Yep. So I can maybe show first the end result. Okay, so as I just shared my screen, so you can see the code and we will just like go through it one by one. But before this, I actually have to uh, give like big kudos to like Mailjet team for like creating the framework MJML. I love the tool a lot. In here, you don't see that. You will only see right now the piece that I wrote for this particular component, but the final email that you have just seen was actually mainly created on MJML. So I was just pulling my code into it. Why did I choose this? Because creating one component and making it sure that it works like everywhere is already like so much work. I just didn't want to like think of other sections at all. So I would be sure that the rest of the email will work like as intended. That was the main like idea. I will again show the final email, which is like some sort of like 800 lines of code. But in here right now, we will just see the component itself. So how do we start this thing in the first place? At first, you will see some sort of like ghost tag, which is not a ghost tag, weird email stuff. All the email peeps know this. I will not just like focus on this thing. So basically, the component has the main div, which is like right now it's called like rock paper scissors app, that contains all the HTML part, and then we have some like CSS. Not all CSS is like inlined because we need to do some sort of like checked states and many other like media queries for like mobile devices or other stuff. So that's why we don't have like much inline stuff. And basically in this app, let's call it app for like from now on, I will just call it app. In this app, we have like two main sections. One of them is called the label container, which contains pretty much everything you see on the screen at the moment on the right sidebar. And then we have the second one, which is the form. And I will get back to it why actually it's a form, but not in like div or any other component. And this is called radio container. I just like strictly separated both of them. So I would like it has like two reasons. The first one is to make it cleaner to understand when I just look at it like couple weeks after I created it. And the second thing is we are using some sort of like weird CSS hacks, and it because of this, all the radios needs to stay in same place. That's the like second reason. So basically, all code is part of like it's just these two divs. It lives in like two pieces, and then in the very bottom we have this fancy Outlook specific section, which is basically we are targeting Outlook because this component can't work in Outlook because of like the CSS restricts. Like you can't do animations or many other stuff in the Outlook clients. So basically, when you visit this email on Windows Outlook, it just strips all the code above and then it just shows you the image that I just created, like similar image. So when you click, it just takes you to a browser to play the game in the browser. Let's get started with the label container. But basically, when we are creating this email, we have this three main uh, concepts that we need to cover. The first one is creating the randomizer. The second thing is build some sort of app logic only with CSS because we don't have access to JavaScript or any other programming language except we are using AMP like emails for Gmail. But in here, we don't use it. So we have to figure out how to build this like solely on CSS. And the third thing is we have to figure out how to do conditional rendering for all the email clients. These are like three main challenges that we need to cover. And we can start with the randomizer, which is actually cool. And if we go to here, like this section, so basically how this randomizer works, as you see here, I click on something and then I have this like play button, and then when I click on it, it generates some move for me, and when I click constantly, it changes this move. And usually you can't do such a thing because in CSS you don't have this randomizer, but we have this trick that I actually learned from email on Acid's blog from Alex Ilhan. In this blog post, I was trying to figure out how can I create a randomizer. At first, I thought of create like I thought of using like animations because in animations you can basically rotate things, and based on this rotation, I can randomly pick one side of the code, and I can show some sort of like pseudo randomizer. It's possible. But then I realized if I create like a huge image with all the three like game pieces, like the moves, I was not able to catch that which one actually randomizer like output. So that's why I had to figure out another way. And thanks to this Alex Ilhan's blog, I realized that we can actually use radio buttons for this. It was like very cool article, and according to that article, basically what I did, there is an animation in this play button, and in this play button there is also I can show it here. Yes, so basically this is the component. This is my randomizer, and what it does, basically it has this label content and label inner parts, and the label content is pretty much my button, and then the label inner, as you see, I have like three different labels to choose three different inputs in the bottom, and each of them stays like on top of each other, but you don't see them because like they're like pretty much like invisible right now with like some ghost image tag. If you wonder why it's there, the Alex also explains that in the blog post. This is basically for iOS because iOS is not able to catch very fast animation changes, so that's why we have that to not put ourselves in like any trouble in like mobile iOS devices. Uh, when you're in like label inner part, basically um, all three of them sits like on top of each other, and it constantly rotates with the animation that we have here that we can show. Where is my animation? This is my logic. Yes, so basically I have this like animation that rotates the, because I have like a strict button size here. It's like 200 pixels wide and 50 pixels high, like high. It's like a certain button. So basically I am rotating all these three labels with this animation. And when you hover your mouse on it, it just stops like the animation. And when you click, it just shows you this output based on which radio button is clicked. Because like I said, there are like actually labels here. When I click, it randomly chooses one of those labels. It's not like 100% randomized, but basically it can generate some sort of like random moves for you to play with it. uh, this is my animation. This is how it works. This is the image that I have just like shared. This, its only purpose is to fix the iOS problems. That's the only job. And then apart from this, as you see, we have this all the other label stuff. Okay, so here, so basically we have this div in the very bottom. This is the whole component, and then of course I have like the name for the button. This is the section that is that contains all the other labels and limits like everything. As you see, it just gives me the exact width and the height. And then inside the like this label inner div, I have labels that are constantly rotating right now on the background. And when you click, it just generates something new. This is the randomizer, like how it works on a very uh, weird way. And just because this is like based on animations, I have to put this disclaimer that right now this thing only works on email clients that support animations on uh, on their like platform. So if you go to like Can I Email website, you will see that it only actually supports WebKit based email clients, which mainly is Apple products. And also it supports some other clients like Heymail, or maybe I think it was also supporting Fast, but it's really hard to target those email clients because they are like relatively new, and I think we still don't know how to target them properly. For now, the component only works on Apple products, mainly because of the limitations on animation CSS stuff. Do you have any questions?
This is riveting to me. I feel like I'm in like nerd heaven learning all this. Yeah, so it sounds like basically you have the animation going in the background, and then every time you click the play button, whichever animation you're on then triggers what shows. Am I
Yeah,
understanding that correctly?
yeah, definitely. So basically,
Okay, cool.
whenever you choose something, so basically everything, all the logic for randomizer is this button. It's just not like a
Okay.
simple button. You click, it catches some of the moves because
Okay.
we have like inputs that I will just show below, and then it just like outputs them on the very bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, this is our randomizer.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
Cool.
as you see now, like since we have to just output something, we had to put them in a form, all the
Mm-hmm.
inputs, and like so basically the first three inputs, and then there's the p tag that says like your move, and then there's like div,
Mm-hmm.
which is empty. So basically that's my move. And this is the easy part because basically what I'm creating three inputs. I just give them the names, I just give them the IDs, and then I create this div. And whenever I click something, let me clear. So basically, whenever I click one of those, this is the label set that I have on the very top here. Like I have three labels here, like all three of them. Whenever I click any of them, because it's as they have like images in it, it just catches from this label because this is how like labels and inputs work. It just catches that input and then gives me this output. And how do I give this output here? It's also another cool stuff, I guess. So as you know, in CSS we don't have any sort of conditionals, so you can't do like things based on like conditions. But like I'm also a JavaScript developer, and in JavaScript we have a thing called ternary operators, which I think a thing for pretty much all the programming languages, but I'm not sure. So basically, it allows you to create inline logic in your components or whatever you're working on. And I just replicated something similar. First of all, for this particular thing. So basically, I'm using this CSS selector called tilde, and the tilde does it checks. Uh, so basically, it applies the styles that you have in this particular class or ID or whatever you want to use, if only the first condition is correct, because it just applies it to immediate, not immediate, but the children of the same parent component on HTML file. So you can use tilde to create some basic logic in your CSS. Of course, that doesn't mean that you should use it for, I don't know, web platforms, because you already have JavaScript and all the strength of the strong popular stuff. We are just using it in email because we don't have anything else that we can use. So basically, whenever I click, for example, in here, this is the rock. So basically, this component, this particular image, when I click on this, it the system checks that, okay, I also have to put stuff now in this particular box, and I'm just basically making it like showing the background image. I'm making it like display block, and I put important pretty much anywhere I see, because this is how email works, at least so far. Maybe they will change it in the future. And it just gives me this basic logic. And then uh, when I click on the play button, the exact same thing happens again. But in this time, like in the first place, we are choosing it for ourselves. So it's like clear. And after randomizer decides, so basically the labels for people are here, like separately, sitting under like in under this main container. But the ones for the AI, let's call it like AI, they just stay in this particular button and does the exact same thing. Whenever you click something, it randomly catches one of the components inside the button, and then it just outputs them in the right bottom of the, like right under the person's section. So basically, I have my inputs for people here. It says that like your move, because like all these inputs are actually like invisible. And then I have my div here that outputs whatever you choose. And the same thing goes again for this time for AI. And I have the div again, and it chooses whatever it has to happen. And then I am able to actually choose whatever that has to happen. And I can see both of these stuff on the screen now. But up until this moment, as you see, like we created anything, like now we are able to choose, we are able to randomly generate some move for the AI. But now we have to figure out how to uh, decide that who won, because when you're creating a game, it's not fun that when you have to decide that who won. The system's supposed to choose it for you, so you won't get this overhead that, okay, I have the hand, that they have the, I don't know, the scissors, who's supposed to win. So that's why I had to build some sort of application logic into this, since we, like I explained, very simple, creating a very simple way of ternary in CSS, and we are using the exact same trick again for the logic. If you go here, so basically for this logic, I didn't create empty divs, and then like I think I could have done that, like again create like an empty div and then just put everything like over CSS, but somehow I didn't want to do it. Instead of this, I created a container for the result here, like it's called like game result, and inside this I have 3 p tags that are actually telling you whether it's draw, whether player won, or whether AI won. It just shows you that. And this is basically this p tag here. And then I have button in the very bottom. And this is the reason why we have forms, because thanks to this button, we can reset the whole game logic and then start to play all over again. So this is just very simple move, and this is something new I actually learned. I didn't know that I can do it on emails, that I can reset whole the form. That was actually very useful. So I can say that this is on like one of the things that I learned when I was working on this project. Yeah, basically we just explained how the player chooses their stuff,
Yeah.
how the AI chooses their stuff, and we showed that where do we output their stuff. And now we can show actually how the application logic works, like how the game decides that who won or who lost. That's like one of the important and integral parts of the like logic. So basically I have this section in the very bottom of the CSS. It basically like that contains all the game logic. I know that it says everything one by one. This is personally for myself. I actually didn't put it for the podcast purposes. Like I know that I'm gonna forget what each of these particular things do, because this is what we do. We just simply forget.
Why we use comments, because why do we code things? We don't know a month from now. I don't know the next day why I coded something a certain way if I don't comment it.
Yeah, basically that's why they're there. I don't know, some people say that they're bad for email deliverability, but I haven't seen anything like this before. So maybe I should strip them before I like publish it. So basically in this logic stuff, we have the same ternary approach that I have just explained, but this time it's a bit more complicated. So basically this time we are getting this nested ternary approach, like not exactly, but we need to check 2 different conditions to be able to do something. So if you like, since like this is like this works or operates as if statement, basically we are checking 2 conditions, and if they are true, we are showing something on the very bottom, which in this case is this particular component. And again we have the tildes like everywhere, because with the tilde we are able to show the second argument printed on the screen based on the condition of the first argument.
Yeah, so you're basically looking at what's checked versus like which two items are checked, and then
Yeah, so
that's what you're showing.
yeah, definitely. So basically I'm
Yeah.
checking if the person checked the rock,
Yep.
and also if the AI checked the rock, because
Right.
thanks to the radio buttons we can check, like we can see if anything works. So after this I say, okay, then go to game result
Mm-hmm.
and find the result draw, because
Yep.
we actually put everything already in the here. So
Right.
everything
So then you're
everything
just
all
calling those classes in.
yeah, everything already
Yeah.
lives
Yeah.
there. So but they all are like display none. So
Right.
they are
Yeah.
there,
So then
but
you just turn it on to block to show it.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's a
definitely. So
simple
I'm
hide
just
show.
so I'm just like turning them on, and I just
Mm-hmm.
show them because they're not visible. I just make them visible. So the same thing
Yep.
goes for all the other ones. As you can imagine, since we don't have any loops or anything, or maybe we haven't discovered any CSS hack for loops yet, I would really love to see this. That would just give a lot of opportunities for us. But since we don't have loops yet, we have to do everything one by one in our hands.
Yep.
So let's say this one, like if the person choose like paper and the AI choose the rock, of course in this case the player wins. So we have to like turn on the player win option among those three. The other ones are like still invisible. So this is how the application logic works, and each of them is like explicitly like defined, and that's pretty much all when it comes to the logic. So uh, we are basically conditionally outputting some component that already is in the code base based on the checked status of two different variables. The first one is being the player, the second one is being the AI. But since we are using this selector called checked here, which means our code will only work on WebKit based email
Mm.
services, because this is not supported by neither Gmail or
Yep.
Outlook or any other not WebKit based stuff.
Yep.
So this is the second piece. So basically the logic part. And the third part is this conditional rendering, like the challenge stuff, because since the beginning you see many like these Outlook pieces, or actually this is right now commented out. So I will just turn this on to see how things works. Yep. So we have this AI button, no animation. I just made it like this. I still remember like to keep myself reminded that what it's supposed to do. So basically this is the exact same structure with the previous AI button stuff. So yeah, so first let me get back to uh, the reason why we have two buttons on the screen right now. The first, the reason is, since we are talking in not WebKit based browsers, not email clients, we are not able to play this game. And that's why we have this particular red ribbon here that says this thing only works on Apple Mail, Outlook for macOS,
Yep.
or iOS mails. Uh, so we have to figure out how to do fallback, because if you want to send something like this for all your customers, they don't always use like Apple products. Some people like to use like WebView of like Gmail or any other products,
Yep.
so it won't work for them. The worst things, I can share the screenshots with you so we can put them on the screen, that they look awful. You see, for example, on Gmail, you would see three different inputs because the
Mm.
Gmail doesn't listen if you actually display none them. It just shows them, and the images just don't render correctly in labels. So like you see many different rendering issues. So we have to figure out how to create some like relevant fallbacks for all the other clients. So that's why uh, for Gmail and all the other clients except Outlook, because Outlook has its own problems. For all the other clients, we have created this. I have created this particular section right under the button. This is simply the second button, and all it does is when you click, right now it won't go, but it will take you to some section, like some website. And in this way, I can create the top section as usual. That would like stay same, but I have to conditionally show the second button for anyone who is not on Apple products or not WebKit based products. And for this, I have decided to target in the very bottom. Yes, so I have this section. I will also now uncommented it. I couldn't do it. I will do that. I'm very keen on. Yes. So now you have to be commented. So in here we have this section, and what it does, it basically targets Apple Mail 10, 12.4, and iOS. And we say show the first button, which is actually the original button. This is the one on the top one is the original button. We say that show that one only to people who use Apple products, simply. And we are just usually I supposed to do it like this. I shouldn't maybe do this live coding stuff, but yep. So yes, usually this is the exact code that I'm pushing on the email clients. You see this one. So basically the fallback version goes to everywhere. But if you see you are like viewing this app on the Apple products, we are just like showing the code, showing the button with original animation. When you're using Apple Mail products, it simply shows you the button with the animation. If you're not using it, it shows you the button that just contains a link. You click, it just takes you some URL, and in this URL, you can host your own game, and people can still play in their URL. Right now, it just takes you to google.com, but you can just host it yourself, and then people can still play. But when it comes to like Apple products, it will always work like as intended. So you won't have to have the same problem. And in the very bottom, there's another one. It's called Can I Play? So this Can I Play is simply this red ribbon that we put on the very top. And it also shows only on non-Apple products, because on Apple products, it already works. You don't have to see that. But in non-Apple products, it's like must have. So we are just showing this particular ribbon there. And this is one of the like important things that when I was working on this project, before that, I was actually not doing it as much. But if you are creating some sort of email content that is only visible for like partial email clients out there, like maybe half of it, maybe like even 70% of the email clients, you still have to show correct like warning signs or information pieces for those people who are not able to like view it. Like I remember it in one of the emails that I got. I remember that the email had like amazing animations and like state changes. When you were clicking through the sections on the email, it was showing you amazing background images, like nice sliding animations and everything. It was working like perfectly on the Apple products, but when it comes to like non-Apple products, because of limitations on the animation, there were like some problems. Like, of course, like they solved everything by creating this fallback version, but still, it didn't give you this information that okay, if you are using Apple product, you can actually get the full experience. And I would like to get it because I realized this by chance because I was checking the same email for education purposes, not for like stealing anything from their code. I was checking the same email from like three different like email clients. One of them is in like Apple, the other one was like my Gmail, and then the third one was Outlook on Windows machines. And I saw that in Gmail and Outlook, it still rendered like good, like it was readable, but it didn't give you the experience. And I would love to know that there is like some sort of like full experience if you would just use the check the email on your like Apple products. So that's why I really suggest people to consider, if they are creating something like that that wouldn't work everywhere, to consider people who don't see it properly, so they will understand that there is also some sort of intended approach for those particular emails.
I feel like we went real in depth with this, which is awesome. Yeah, I love looking at this. It's such a clever use of CSS and the check states and all that to an extent that I've never really have seen before. So this was really neat to listen and watch you go through and to see all the code.
If anyone who listens this have any problems, just like shoot me some mail or anything. I would be glad to explain this thing, because I'm kind of like proud with this thing.
Yeah, you should be proud. This is a feat, like seriously. Yeah, when I think I first saw like a GIF maybe on Twitter or screen recording or something that was going around when you first made it, and I was just like, oh man, this is awesome. I want to know how this is made, and here we are. So, anyways, thank you for showing this to us. Like I just said, this is such an excellent email and an excellent use of interactivity and how we can use it in the Apple clients and how we can have it fall back gracefully and all that. Why don't you tell us where we can find you so that people can contact you, whether they want to talk about this email or other dev stuff or whatever.
Okay, so for email stuff, you can just reach me at emre@potionlabs.io. I'm on Twitter, quite active. You can reach me with emredemirel_.com, not com, dot, but _com. And then I'm also on like Email Geeks like Slack group. So you can also just like DM me over there. It's a very cool group. I have recently discovered it, and I'm quite sad that I haven't discovered it before. It's it's
Love
that,
it over
yeah,
there.
it's that kind of stuff. Where else you can hear from me? Yeah, I'm also on LinkedIn and other stuff, but I'm mainly on Twitter. So if you just like DM me over Twitter or Slack, you would probably reach me easily.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, for those of you watching, thank you. And thanks for watching our Notes from the Devs episodes. Stay tuned for more and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe us so that you can get a notification for when our next episode drops.
Okay, thanks for having me. Bye-bye.